And you're watching CNBC-TV18.
Hi guys, good afternoon and welcome to Your Stocks. I'm Pavitra Parekh. We have lots to discuss, but first up, Cipla's numbers are breaking on your screen right now. And all in all, it looks like quite an inline set so far. We have the net profit, which is at around 780 crores. This is versus the estimates that we had of 771 crores. So there's a mild beat on that one. The revenue was also in line. The EBITDA has come in slightly higher than expected. It's at over 1300 crores. So that one looks good. And what also stands out is that the margin has come in at 22.3%. The poll that we were working with was of 21.1%. The stock is up on your screen. It did spike up a little bit after the results as well. But all in all, this looks like quite an inline set of earnings. We are waiting by for the finer details as well. But let me hand it over to Ekta, who's standing by, and she has some more highlights from how Cipla's second quarter has looked. Ekta.
Thanks for that. Well, yes, it's, a largely inline set of numbers, like you mentioned. The revenue is up around 5.6% on a year-on-year basis. The EBITDA has grown around 6% year-on-year. So the margins have come in a tad better than what the expectations were. So we were expecting around 21%. So they've come in at around 22%. And this generally is a positive, considering that we have been talking about how Ajanta Pharma's numbers or margins have been impacted quite severely this quarter because of high raw material freight costs. So in such a high inflationary environment, along with the fact that there is generic pressure, there is pricing pressure in the US markets, Cipla has in fact managed to maintain their margins on a year-on-year basis. So 22% is where it's come in at. Even the profit seems to be in line with expectations. So it's come in at a growth of around 11%, 789 odd crores is where the profit has come in at. And this is versus our expectations of around 771 crores. Remember that Cipla itself has been quite an outperformer in terms of a stock, and that is because there is a lot of optimism in terms of what they could deliver in their US business. For this quarter, we were expecting an improvement in the US business. $165 to $170 million is what the expectation was, versus $155 million in the previous quarter, and that would be led by primarily growth in the inhaler portfolio, such as albuterol, which is one of their key inhalers, Brovana generic as well, where market share is expected to increase, and hence the US market would be watched out for quite closely. In terms of the India business, they had one of the stronger COVID-19 portfolios, so there will be some amount of base impact. Whether or not there is double-digit growth, X of the base impact would be something that the street would watch for. Their One India business, which is the category which includes the India generic as well as the OTC portfolio and the trade generic business. Overall, it seems as though it's largely an inline set of numbers for Cipla. No complaints which have come in terms of the performance. We need to get into the finer details in terms of geographies and what the US generic business did this quarter to get to know more. But the fact that they've come out with a stable inline set of numbers should be something that the street will take with both hands. No disappointment come in terms of especially the margins.
Oh, no disappointment at all. Ekta, thanks a lot for taking us through all of the highlights. So, like Ekta pointed out, we are waiting by for finer details on how the India business has fared, on how US is fared. What is also important to watch will be the management commentary. So, we're waiting by to see what they have to say. Remember, their Goa plant was re-inspected. So, we'll watch out for, what the management has to say on that front, on the US sales outlook, as well as the launches that they have lined up. But, to assess the numbers further, let's also bring in Prakash Diwan now. Prakash, good afternoon. I feel like it's become a thing. We talk every day at 2 o'clock, but Cipla's earnings are out now. Cipla's earnings are out, and people just going through the numbers. Looks like a completely inline set. Margin is in fact a little bit ahead of what we expected as well. No disappointments, right?
Oh, absolutely. So my answer also might sound a bit repetitive from what we had on HDFC. Yes, this is a great set of numbers from the perspective that there were a lot of high expectations for Cipla, and that was manifested in the price being very close to its 52-week highs, right? And while some of the other pharma names have been a bit skittish in terms of the performance, this was one name that was expected to deliver, and it has. So, of course, we'll have to wait for the internals to see what's led to all these, good numbers to be out. But importantly, from here on, if there are no disappointments as they are in the numbers, you'll probably see the stock continuously get some more strength if the commentary on the new launches in the US, Braxan and Advair portfolio is also kind of, something that the management sounds a bit optimistic on. And of course, the Goa re-inspection outcome. So all in all, I think it's a great set of numbers. It's difficult to maintain on a high base that Cipla sits on. To keep on performing, not just on a Q-on-Q, but on a YoY basis as well, they've delivered. So pretty good. And I'm sure the market is in a mood to reward good numbers and punish the bad ones. So you'll probably see this getting repeated here as well.
Okay, well, Prakash, hi, this is Ekta. Just wanted your thoughts in terms of what the biggest risk for Cipla would be from here on, considering that it's an inline set of numbers and the stock is already close to fresh 52-week highs. So like you mentioned, maybe a large part of it is already in the price, but what do you think would be probably the biggest risk?
Ekta, so good companies like Cipla, Reddy's, the only thing that set them back is delay in new product launches. If there's anything that upsets that, what happens is your visibility on cash flows gets a bit strained. And with that strain, what happens is it becomes difficult to maintain high ROCs, right? So if the return ratios start dwindling or getting inhibited, and there's no growth, even if there's revenue growth coming from elsewhere, but your launches get pushed, that is always a big worry. So that's why I said the first thing when Pavitra asked me, I said I would rather listen to the management's commentary on some of these new product launches and how that market is shaping up for them. And some of these molecules are big enough for them to also give you visibility for the next couple of years if everything goes on time. So that's the only risk. Otherwise, I think the India numbers, the respiratory portfolio is something which has been very strong for them, and it will continue to be strong given the fact that while there is enough of a slowdown in the COVID-related business, but then you'll have all the other part of the portfolio that will also start doing better, is my guess. And India as a market, if you see for most players, like Cipla has been fairly rewarding on margins at least. So that is not going to be such a big issue, I believe.
Okay, Prakash, if I ask you to compare between Cipla and Sun Pharma, because both those stocks are actually the more resilient ones within the pharmaceutical space, which one would you probably choose based on the fact that earnings have been as they are in Q2 and they both are sitting close to fresh 52-week highs?
So that's a tricky one. But, given how things stack up for both of them, I think Cipla is the one that might be much more of a steady player. It's proving to be the Rahul Dravid of the team, rather than an MS Dhoni, which Sun can be. Where it could be a bit flashy, it could do well in parts, but it has a bit of too many moving parts. The specialty pharma business is something which, as a portfolio, has always been a bit binary. In terms of outcomes, whereas Cipla doesn't have anything which could be very spectacular. It's boring, but it's steady in terms of growth across the globe. So all geographies could start doing well for it, and it could probably surprise us pleasantly on the upside with a faster growth rate as well.
Okay, all right, Prakash, we're going to leave it on that note because it seems as though the stock is just about flat post its numbers, reacting to what has been a largely inline set of numbers. But we really need to look at the details of the numbers as well, whether or not there's any kind of miss in terms of expectations on the geographies. But based on the headline numbers, largely in line. Back to you, Pavitra.
Ekta, thanks a lot for taking us through some of those details on Cipla. Like Ekta and Prakash both pointed out, we're waiting for the finer details, and it will be a lot about listening to what the management has to say now on the launches and the geographical breakup as well. But we have spent enough time on Cipla, so we're going to take a short break now. When we come back, we'll get you all of our viewer queries. Our guests will also be joining in.